Good morning, everybody. This is the Friday reading or the Friday broadcast here at Book of Hours. How is everybody today? Um, let's just make sure that I have the chat on. Just take care of some things in the background before I get started. Let some people get into the chat and start. Sorry, the wind is blowing my hair around. Start viewing the broadcast. I hope that you guys have been enjoying JP's daily report. We started it this week. This is, and I'm looking at my at the broadcast here on my own. Okay, so it sounds good. Yeah. Sorry, I got like the wind is like blowing my hair all over into my mouth and stuff, and it's really hard to talk. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. Little not very elegant beginning, but that's the way it goes. Okay. Maybe. It's okay now. I think I just had like a little bit of interruption there, but I think it's okay now. Thank you. Yeah, it actually feels really good. So I hope that everybody can hear okay and everybody gets a chance to join in and view the broadcast. I hope you like that intro. That is actually a guitar riff that JP came up with on his own, and we decided to use it for the Friday broadcasts. So I hope that you enjoyed that. Speaking of creativity and speaking of things that I love anything that's creative and artistic, obviously. Who doesn't, right? I love poetry and I love music, obviously, and I love sketching, painting. JP mentioned in one of his daily report broadcasts, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, that he actually painted that piece behind us, and I can go like this and you can see the whole thing. And we have many pieces throughout our house that are painted by him. And I don't think he would mind me saying that if you're interested in purchasing them, until we get full-time work again, we're looking at, possibly selling some of his paintings if you're interested. So that's another form of income and getting just doing everything we can to make ends meet. So speaking of creativity and all of that, before I start in on the broadcast, there is a connection, a patron, former patron, current friend, current connection, that we've known for a few years, probably since 2020 or so. She is a gardener and an artist, and she sent this to us in the mail probably many months ago. And this is the piece that she sent, and she has many pieces. And what I want to try to do is, spread it around. I want people to be supportive if they're creative, if they're getting out. I want them to be supported. Not only do I want them to be supportive, but I want them to be supported. I want you guys to also support others as well. So this is the piece that I look at every day when I am sitting at this desk. This is Juniper Kozlowski's work, and I would appreciate it if you looked her up. You can find her. Her last name is spelled Kozlowski, Juniper Kozlowski. This is just a sampling of what she sent us as a gift, and I love getting creative gifts. And so I just wanted to show that to you. And it's something that I keep on my desk. I have a few trinkets that bring me joy. And this is one of the things that I have on my desk so that I can see it and feel calm and happy that there are people out there that I'm connected with that are creative. Of course, my husband is very creative. I'll go ahead and share his website with you, his other website, Pylon Studios. Um, and then I'm going to share somebody else's work with you. So this is the introduction to this broadcast, this Friday broadcast, is a little bit different. It's more about just kind of easing into some of the things that we've been talking about, which is, the unemployment situation and uh, other issues. Now, the broadcast seems to be really slow. For instance, I just shared the screen and it's it's telling me that I'm sharing it, but there it is, but I don't see it. So it's really slow today and super glitchy, and I don't know why. So if you want to go to pylonstudios.com and take a look at the selected work by him, we've got Lemons, Magnolia. What is so fascinating about the Magnolia series? Look at this: Magnolia 1, Magnolia 2, Magnolia 3. What is utterly fascinating about the Magnolia series is that this was painted and created before we even knew that we were moving to Pittsburgh. Whoops, what happened? What did I do? Before we even knew that we were moving to Pittsburgh. And of course, moving to Pittsburgh is what brought us to the Magnolia State. This is Magnolia 2. So here we are living in the Magnolia State. And I'm going back to his paintings or he'll tell you more about what this is, I'm sure. Oh, sorry about that. Of course, we never ever get sirens, ever. And of course, there's sirens. So here we are living in the Magnolia State. And one of the few things that he created was these Magnolia pieces. What's going on?
There's just somebody did something on the street in their car, and then there happened to be a cop nearby.
Oops. Uh-oh.
Or either that or they got a call. I don't know, but that was weird.
Yeah, we never hear sirens. So don't you think it's interesting that before we even left San Francisco and moved to Pittsburgh, JP, that we were what's going on? What? Okay, we're having like weird.
Oh man, the cops are out of their cars and
they're running.
They're running through our yard.
They're running through our yard. Holy, okay, you guys, I am so sorry. They just ran. What is happening? Okay. I know that this sounds crazy, but apparently there is some kind of issue happening in our lovely, bucolic, calm, sweet neighborhood, just blocks from the beach. There's cops up and down our street, running through our yard. I can see them prowling around in our yard, running through our neighborhood, running through our yard. I do hear some kind of yelling. So it's very strange to me that this is happening the second I go live. Ooh, exciting stuff here in Biloxi, Mississippi. But I do have to say that it's very curious that prior to even leaving San Francisco, do you want to tell me what's going on?
They just arrested somebody in our neighbor's backyard.
Oh no. That's absolutely heartbreaking. Oh my God. Should I stop the broadcast? No. I'm sorry, guys. This is just a heartbreaking situation with our neighbor who's got a troubled son. Sweetest lady in the world actually came over and gave us some cash for groceries when she discovered that we were unemployed. So it's heartbreaking. Her son is he's got a little bit of an addiction problem, and Biloxi is very, very serious. I'll put myself back on screen. Biloxi is very serious about making sure that this bucolic, lovely little town that's very much like, one of the sweetest places that you'll ever live does not turn into a San Francisco or, that's just heartbreaking because he's a good kid. He's a really good kid, and we're so sad to hear that he's in trouble. We're so sad to see this happening. But it's it's terrible timing because here I am in the middle of trying to do this broadcast, and we've never heard sirens on the street. We started moving here, slowly moving into this house after we closed on the house in March of 2023. So and now we're in March of 2025. We actually just had our 2-year anniversary on March 10th. And we have never heard sirens, and we've never seen anyone arrested. So for them to, for this to happen today, I'm looking over here because there's a window and I can see everything going on. So for this to happen, it's devastating. And so once we're done here, we're going to have to check in with our neighbor and make sure that she's okay. So getting back into it, this is my husband's portfolio for his Pylon Studios website. He is an artist. He is a painter. There are his paintings all over our home. His creations are all over the place. He works in many different types of media, many different types of materials. He can tell you more about it. These things are for sale, and I find it very interesting that he created the Magnolia series long before we even knew that we would be moving to the Magnolia state. And we have a beautiful magnolia tree in our front yard that's been blooming, and our neighbors walk by. When they walk their dogs, they take pictures of our tree and then text us a picture of our tree. It's like, yeah, I know, I live here. That's my tree. But I think it's that they're so charmed by this beautiful blooming magnolia tree that they want us to know that that they're looking out for us, and that they love seeing how much beauty there is around here. So I found it incredibly interesting that he created this series prior to even leaving San Francisco, before we even knew that we would have to move to move to Pittsburgh. And it's sometimes your artistic inclinations have a way of speaking to you and telling you what the future will hold before you even know what's happening. So I have shown you Juniper Kozlowski's work, and I would love it if you would go to her site. And I've shown you JP's site, and now I'm going to show you some poetry. And let me get over to that screen. And I think we've mentioned our friend Zig before. Now, Zig just spent a week with us enjoying Mardi Gras, and she had a little vacation while she was here. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, well, here's one of her poems. And okay, here's her website. It's called Upagus, which I love that name. And you can go through her site. It's just upagus.com. You can read about her. You can read about Epicus actually on the site. And then you can read some of the poetry that she's published. If you want to submit something, you can certainly do that. I believe that she's open to submissions. Everything is free, of course. But there is a piece that is actually not on Epicus that I do want to read. But before I do that, I'll just leave the site up here. I want to tell you a little bit about our experience hosting her for a week. Unfortunately, she was here during one of the worst weeks of our lives. So imagine, if you will, planning your vacation to the Gulf Coast to go to Mardi Gras for the first time in your life and stay with your friends who have a nice big empty bedroom that you can sleep in, and a nice big, well, not big, but a nicely sized attached bathroom. That's our guest room and our guest bath. And you arrive and they say, well, welcome to our crisis. And so we spent the whole week trying to, have conversations with our lender about the fact that we no longer have employment. We were working on getting some sort of food assistance and some sort of medical assistance for, things that we couldn't afford. So imagine, if you will, like being somebody who wants to go just hang out with your friends and thinks everything is okay. And we weren't sure if we should tell her, because we certainly didn't want her to not come. So it was challenging, and I just, I felt bad that she had to experience so much of our trauma and drama for that week that she was here. But as usual, she just was like, hey, you guys are going through some shit. I totally get it. No worries. I'm still having a good time. We had a great time. We went to a few restaurants. We went to 3 Mardi Gras parades. We had an amazing time. And she left about a week ago. So it was a really good time to reconnect. We met some of her. It's a little bit convoluted, but we met some friends of hers that live in Alabama. And so we went to Joe Cane Day, which is a hoot. It's totally fun. We had a great time. And despite the fact that I had my share of stressful moments with her where I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. This is terrible. And, she was just a friend who just sat there and listened and was like, just kind of like being there without really casting judgment and without really, saying, I have the answer, because, sometimes you just have to figure these things out as you go along. You don't know what the future will hold. You don't know what the, how it's all going to turn out. This is pomegranate juice, not wine. So this is her site. She writes poetry. She accepts it. I believe she accepts it on her site. So please reach out if you'd like. You can find everything on epicus.com. Okay, so let me go ahead and get rid of that. And then let's go ahead and share something I actually want to read that she wrote. Okay, here it is. It's called The Bridge to Bruno Island, and it was published in the Pittsburgh Quarterly. And this is her, Ziggy Edwards. We call her Zig. I don't think she painted this. I believe this was another submission. So what the Pittsburgh Quarterly did is they took the piece of art that somebody submitted, and then they took her poem and they put it together and published it. So it's very nice. I like it. I like the piece that they used to support her poem. So let me read this. This is from February 11th, 2025, and this is the one I'll read. The Bridge to Bruno Island. Caged in its lattice of trusses, a worker crossing on foot can witness the last orange flash before fair winter. Conjures Ohio's vengeance. For now, giants in their opaque depths breathe evenly. The bridge's underbelly jiggles the surface. The hammerhead siren is only sunbathing. A guy on second shift swears he saw the shadow of Dr. Brunel. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry if I'm getting it wrong. Swears he saw the shadow of Dr. Brunel haunting with portrait stiffness the banks where his farm washed away. So this, brought to, for me personally, this poem brought to mind, the devastation in Appalachia, where you would see these, videos of homes just washing down the river, and just people, even swimming in the river and in the flooding to try to, get to safety. So I really appreciate the fact that there are people out there that are still writing poetry, people like Zig, people like our friend, people like me, even although I don't really share it too much, I do occasionally still dabble in it, because I know that artificial intelligence and ChatGPT is taking over this realm. And I think that, in order to continue holding on to this life and fight these sort of anti-life measures, that we need to have these human elements to our creativity. Let's not just rely on ChatGPT or artificial intelligence to illustrate us. Why don't we just illustrate ourselves, right? So that's what that's where I am right now. So a couple of things that I wanted to share with you as well is a piece that I wrote the other day introducing people to the newest broadcast, which is Monday through Thursday. This is the Daily Report, what it is, when it is, why it is, and where it is. So this is the Daily Report. And you can go to Book of Hours. I don't even know my own website address. I think it's it's bookofours.substack.com, and this is the article that is pinned to the top: what it is, when it is, why it is, and where it is. So I explain what it is, and it's the Daily Report. It's a daily live stream, Monday through Thursday, either in the 10 o'clock hour or the 1 or 2 o'clock hour, and it runs once a day. And why? It's to inform, open up a space for dialogue and feedback, embrace new opinions, new ideas, and new analysis in an often perplexing cultural zeitgeist. So how you can and where you can find us and how you can support us. We created this in order to supplement an income we no longer have, but also to continue expressing ourselves through these avenues, right? Of course, the one when and if a full-time job ever presents itself again, we will try to continue the broadcast. We may scale it back a bit, but I will most definitely continue the Friday broadcast like I'm doing now. So I can go ahead and get rid of that. So let's talk about a little bit before I go into a piece that I want to actually read, and it's not very long, and it's from the South China Morning Post. I believe is yeah, I think that's what it is. Before I go into that, I want to talk about like some good stuff, because over the last week, it's been really the Daily Report has been very honest, has been brutally honest about our situation. So, and there's more to talk about regarding the situation with unemployment in this country. There definitely is more to talk about regarding that. But there's also some good news. And the people that have helped us outside of one of JP's oldest friends that he's known practically since childhood, who dipped into her personal savings so that our utilities could stay on, um, which was an incredible gesture of kindness and friendship. And also the patrons who have donated a little extra. So I've got some subscribers on Substack who pay a little bit per year, and they gave a little extra. So thank you, Liz, for that. I just now saw the alert. So thank you for that. So now our goal is 300 for the month of the month of March. We're trying to do a $500 goal every month. So far, we have officially raised through the fundraising. We have officially raised about $200. So thank you for that, Liz. That brought us up to the $200 mark. But outside of friends, like the my mom, making sure that I have oregano oil, to keep me from feeling sick, or sending money for groceries. That's different than the fundraising. You would expect, your parents or people like that to help out. So that's different than this fundraising that we're doing. We're basically running a business and hoping that people will respect what we broadcast at least Monday through Thursday and feel that they want to subscribe to it. Just like any subscription that you might pay for on a monthly basis, $2, $5, whatever. But there are other people that have been helpful and brought about some relief to this household and to me personally that need to be acknowledged. And these are the people that I call the bureaucrats. These are the people that I call the pencil pushers. And whether they work in a federal job or a civic job or even at a corporation, these are the people that stand between you and maybe destitution. And these are the people that DOJ is removing out of our federal offices. And social media would have you believe that that it's all about rooting out corruption and wasteful spending. If it was really about rooting out corruption and wasteful spending, then the millionaires and billionaires that benefit from other people's pain and other people's needs, they would be the ones to lose their jobs. They would be the ones to lose their income. So I have two very specific examples of individuals that are considered, that they have sort of that bureaucratic role. So without getting into too much detail and telling you every little personal facet of my life, for a few years, my former employer, when I was working at my former corporate job, for a few years, I had signed up for something that would protect me in case the company closed or in case I had to stop working for whatever reason. And it was sort of like an insurance so that I could continue to earn a little bit of a stipend. It's very small. And that has been the thing that saved me. Okay, so that was something that I did while I was employed. And I think I paid anywhere from $10 to $20 a paycheck into this thing. And all of my coworkers thought I was crazy because our employer didn't pay us a lot of money. So every little bit of our paycheck counted, and especially living in the most expensive city in the country, San Francisco. And I said, well, the corporation doesn't really care about the people. I've kind of learned this in my years of working. So I think if they're offering this thing, I think I'm just going to buy into it. And, hey, if I never need it, well, then, I guess I've wasted $10, $20 a paycheck. It's like $40 a month. What am I going to do? You know, but on the off chance that I might need it in the future, it could help me pay my utilities. It could, if I'm out of a job or if the business has to close. Well, sure enough, that happened. And that was quite a few years ago. That was like a decade ago. So for quite a few years, this has brought in a very small amount of money per month. And this is sort of what gets us by a little bit. It's certainly not enough to pay our mortgage. It's certainly not enough to even pay our utilities here in Mississippi, which can run up to $500 a month at times. But it is a little bit. And it was, it helped me when I was single. It helped me, after I got married. So it's been a good thing. So I'm glad I took the risk and made a decision to do that. Well, let's fast forward to January of 2025. JP and he is gainfully employed at that point and has been gainfully employed for 3 years. In January of 2025, we experienced something that we have never experienced in the Gulf Coast and something that hadn't been experienced in the Gulf Coast in like 8 generations. And it was a snowstorm. Our area doesn't get snow. We live a few blocks from the Gulf of Mexico. Right now, the weather is balmy and beachy and warm. Like the air is warm and muggy. You don't get snow in this tropical climate, right? But and even in January, you don't get snow. Now it gets cold, but you don't get snow. And we started getting snow in January, like around January 20th or so. And it just kept coming and it never stopped. And so 1 inches turned to 3 inches, which was crazy. And then 3 inches turned to 5 inches. And then 5 inches turned to 9 inches. Okay. Now, this is an area that doesn't have snow plows. The local hardware store doesn't sell snow shovels. Why would they? We live on the Gulf Coast. There's no place to get rock salt to spread around your sidewalks to make sure that, people don't slide on the ice. The temperatures were dropping. And I was starting to feel very concerned about what was happening. Everything was closing down. You couldn't drive anywhere. The roads were closed. All of the stores were closed. Everybody was told to stay home and just sit tight. And we were told by the municipality, we were told by the city, you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything until it ends and until the snow melts on its own. We don't have anything, we don't have any infrastructure in place to open up our roads and help this, and open us back up to live, for life. So imagine being in a place that you moved to. You moved to a place specifically to get away from snow, and you find yourself in a snow globe. There's a lot of windows in our house you can't see because of the broadcast, but on either side of me, it's like a fishbowl. It's glass windows everywhere. So imagine, if you will, I'm just in this strange place that I've never been in. I feel totally out of touch with reality. Luckily, our electricity stayed on. We still had a cell phone connection. And I receive a notice from that company that had always, supported me and that I bought into when I was unemployed for safety for the future in case I became vulnerable or the company had to close, which they eventually did have to close. I get a notice in the mail from them like the day before the snowstorm. So like on the 19th of January that says, we're going to cut you off. And you have until a certain amount of time to come up with some paperwork, and you have to go to certain places and get reports drawn and and all this bureaucratic stuff. So I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't do any of the things that they asked because of this crazy snowstorm that was hitting the Gulf Coast and everything was closed. Everything. All the places that they wanted me to go and all the things that they wanted me to do, I couldn't do it. And I didn't know how long it would be before I could because there's no snow plows. There's no way to get, the ice melted off the roads. So just because the snow melts, you still have black ice that you have to deal with. So I was thinking 1 week, 2 weeks, and they gave me a deadline on the letter. So I called the company and I spoke to one of those bureaucrats that I'm telling you about that I mentioned are the kind of people that you really don't want to get rid of in your agencies and in your companies and in your federal jobs or your civic jobs. So I spoke to one of those people and I said, I have been the beneficiary of this product, which I paid into while I was employed for like a decade. And this deadline you've given me, you know me. Normally, I don't have a problem meeting your deadlines and meeting your criteria in order to keep my benefits. But this time, I'm under this really strange, extenuating circumstance. I'm 2 blocks, 3 blocks, 4 blocks from the Gulf of Mexico, and I can't leave my house because I'm surrounded by snow and all the roads are closed. And I can't get to the places that you need me to go to locally. There's no way to, and I don't know when I can. So this bureaucrat said, okay, well, we will give you another month. We will give you another month. And I said, okay, that helps me breathe a little bit easier. So I get an additional month to go and do the thing that they wanted me to do, which is like have a form filled out and all this bullshit. So the next conversation with that bureaucrat was about the form itself. He actually brought it up and he said, now, I realize you're in a new state. And sometimes when you're in a new state, individuals like other bureaucrats that I need you to get this form filled out from, that will fill out the form for you, sometimes they are resistant because they don't know you, they don't have a history with you. So do your best to get the form filled out. But if you can't, here's something else you can do. And we'll review this other thing that you can do, but we can't make any promises that we will continue this relationship with you based on that other information you provide us. So I was like, that's interesting. And sure enough, he was right. The original form that they said I needed to fill out, by their new deadline, everyone was kind of resistant. They're like, well, we don't know you. You're new to the state of Mississippi. Who the hell are you? And, I kind of don't blame them. So I did the other thing that he said, and I submitted it. I faxed it digitally over to them. I got everything in digital form so that, because time is of the essence with these deadlines. And I received a letter in the mail a few days ago saying to me, a letter I've never received from them before, that said, you have satisfied all of our criteria. We will continue to have a relationship with you, which means that we will continue to pay you that very small stipend that helps put food on your table and helps pay your utilities a little bit. It's not much, but boy, is it something. So this is what I'm talking about, that those are the kinds of bureaucrats, these that Doge wants to go after. These are the individuals that take these kinds of jobs not to get rich. They do it for job security. These are the individuals that understand the house rules. They understand the company rules. They understand the law. They understand civil code. They understand federal code. These are the ones that are between you and absolute corruption. They hold the line between you and destitution sometimes, or having a completely corrupted government or a completely corrupted situation, even with a corporation. And these are the individuals, they take these jobs. They're low-paying jobs. They don't pay very well, but they're typically the kinds of jobs that offer really good benefits. They're federal jobs, civic jobs, Or there are these kind of, low paying administrative bureaucratic jobs at corporations. They usually have good benefits. They get, 2 weeks paid vacation, and it's good enough. It's good enough for them. Maybe they don't want the rigmarole of trying to go and, making 6 figures a year and, getting the really, the really fancy jobs. They just go for the civic jobs, or they go for those lower level paying jobs. And it's enough for them to get by. Those are the individuals that Doge is going after. Doge is not going after the multi-billionaires or millionaires that are causing the corruption and causing the onset of austerity and poverty in this country. Doge is going after those bureaucratic individuals who have simple paying jobs. They've been there for, decades. They've, and like I said, they understand bureaucracy. They understand that it's between you and something very corrupt, that keeps you safe. So I wanted to just kind of give that as an example to support my position on why I'm against, Doge just, walking into our federal agencies and just firing people without any consequence, right? So, because it was this gentleman that I spoke to who was incredibly sympathetic. And this also brings me to the fact that, there's a lot of conversation and sort of, trial ballooning or trial testing the idea of putting AI into these positions. If I had had an AI type of situation instead of this bureaucrat, the AI would have said, they don't care about my extenuating circumstances. They would have said, you didn't make your original deadline. We don't care that you were snowed in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. And AI would have just said, denied, no more. We're done. The relationship is over. So this is where you need that human element to come in and take into consideration these very unique circumstances that we all have because we're all human, right? There was another situation too. It's a shorter story, but it had to do with an insurance woman who went way out of her way and spent 90 minutes on the phone with me to make sure that I qualified for some kind of additional coverage to help me pay for things, that I need, even to help pay for food. And every possible avenue that she went down to try to help me get this new policy, which is free to me. I don't pay for it. The alert just kept coming up. Denied, 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 denied. And she finally figured out a way for me to be accepted into the program. So these are the kinds of people that will work for you to help you. And these are the kinds of people that are losing their jobs. And we don't want that to happen. They understand the rules. They understand the game. They know each individual has, specific, unique circumstances. And, I think it's really important that people like me have more of these conversations to bring to light the value of these, sort of pencil pushing bureaucratic types who understand things like house rules. They understand the corporate rules. They understand federal code, civil code, civic code, all that stuff. They make it happen, right? Okay. So one of the things I want to also talk to you about is what JV does for a living, and having a conversation with this insurance woman who had me on the phone for 90 minutes, and I was finally approved for something. She asked me at the very, very, very tail end of the phone call. She said, when you log into your portal to do things like update a phone number or check, the status of, like if you go in and try to get a prescription filled and you want to see what the status of the payment for your prescription is, things like that, your dashboard. would you like your dashboard to be in bigger print? And I said, yes. Sure enough, after I signed up, I went immediately to my dashboard, and it was so easy for me to read. I was actually really delighted and like, oh, look at this. I don't have to make the screen bigger on my own. It's there for me. So the kind of person that goes in and curates and is sort of the architect of what goes on in these different websites or these different applications on your phone that you download, that's a user experience designer, which is what JP does, or an experienced architect or some sort of architect. So that's what he does. So she clicks a button. That button then prompts somebody else in the background that's building the designs in the background and building the websites in the background, and said, I got another one. They need special accommodations for a website. Get your user experience designers on that to make sure that it's working for these percentage of people that need this. Because not everybody who logs in is going to need big print or special color coding if they're colorblind or things like that. So that's what he does. And he puts all the tools in place to make that happen. And it's important that you have that person on hand so that somebody like him can interview somebody like me and say, how did you enjoy your experience? And I'll say, I enjoyed it very well. Thank you for accommodating me, that kind of thing. So that's why it's really important to have these types of designers. Ultimately, the job itself is based in compassion and empathy. And it's become a very popular job over the last couple of decades. JP is the front runner, one of the first, people to enter into this type of role. Where we as consumers, or we as the people who engage on digital platforms, we aren't just at the mercy of what the digital experience tells us that we need to have. We can now dictate to designers what we want. So this is or at least recommend or suggest or give feedback. And feedback can come in the form of like, how was, like a random survey that you might get. How was your experience with your new app? Was the print big enough? Did you like the font? Did you like the color coding? All that. Or you can have actual interviews, and there are people who do research and actually interview users. So that's what he does, and I wanted to give that some context too, because I think we explain to people what JP does for a living, and whoosh, it goes right over their head. They don't understand. So I thought, well, why don't I take my personal experience when I was dealing with this nice insurance lady who was really working her her butt off to make sure that I got this coverage. At the very last question, she said, I need to know if you need any special accommodations for your experience when you log into your dashboard. And I'm like, well, yeah, having the bigger font would really help. So that is what he does, is he creates those genuinely better user experiences. That's why he's a user experience designer. Okay. So I'm trying to think if I want to go ahead and read. Yes, I will go ahead and read the South China Morning Post article. It's from, I want to say it's from February. So it's from last month. And this is one of the Doge guys. He's known as Edward Coristine, also known as Big Balls. The Doge staffer and new senior advisor at the State Department is only 19 years old, and he's registered his first venture, Tesla.sexy LLC, at age 16. So these are the individuals. They really look up to Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. These are the individuals that are taking away those really important, necessary, bureaucratic jobs, and everybody's trying to convince you that they're rooting out corruption and wasteful spending. They're not. So let's talk about Edward Coristine. He's the son of a successful but controversial popcorn entrepreneur and has attempted to launch several of his own ventures, but was fired from an internship last year. So the 19-year-old high school graduate and Doge staffer who goes by the nickname Big Balls has now been given a senior advisor role at the State Department Bureau of Diplomatic Technology. The teenager, who has been identified as Edward Coristine, has drawn backlash and raised further concern about Elon Musk, who has been leading Trump's Department of Government Efficiency. Now, since the timing of this article, which is February of 2025, so a month ago, a judge has ordered that many of those bureaucratic types that I'm talking about be ordered back into their roles and back into their jobs. So I think things may be turning around a little bit. Like I said, sometimes it's like you take one step forward and then two steps back, and then three steps forward and one step back. So that, because that's how life is. So Coristine, also known as Big Balls, appears to have since launched an account on X where he shared the news publicly. I'm honored to announce that I've secured a role at the State Department. Okay, that's him, allegedly. So here's what we know about the controversial young adult who's joining Musk's team. Now, this is where I'm going to switch it up a bit. I'm going to take you over to his dad's company. It's called Lesser Evil. So Edward Coristine, who is the 19-year-old sitting in the unelected 19-year-old that's sitting in the State Department, is the heir to a $100 million snack fortune. So his father is Charles Coristine, and his father has a background in finance. So I'm sure you've all heard of the healthy snack, Lesser Evil, but I just wanted to show you that this young man, this 19-year-old, who knows, maybe he's 20 by now, but this teenager, this 19-year-old who's occupying the State Department, doesn't even need a job. He's heir to a $100 million fortune. Okay, so let's go back to the article. So this is his dad, and this is the YouTube video for I'm not going to play it, advertising, the benefits of this really healthy snack. So Coristine's father, Charles, is reportedly also a controversial figure. He's a former Morgan Stanley employee who bought a failing organic popcorn company for $250,000 and grew it into a multi-million-dollar brand. I don't know why, but that just reeks of money laundering to me. How do you go from this struggling organic popcorn company, sell it to a dude from Morgan Stanley, and he turns it into a multi-million-dollar snack company? Come on. What kind of funding are they getting? But listen, he was later accused of false advertising by stating that the snacks were healthier than other options on the market, according to The Independent. So Edward, the kid here, has been dubbed the popcorn heir thanks to his father's dealings. He didn't really go to college. I mean, he went to Northeastern University, but his friends, and I'm just sort of paraphrasing or just recapping what the piece says here. You can read it yourself. His friends say that he basically just lifted up people like Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates, never really wanted to get like a formal education. He just wanted to be one of these, useful assets the way Zuckerberg and Gates and Musk are, right? Because they're assets. So basically, he's openly saying, I want to be an asset. So he thinks Elon Musk is a genius entrepreneur. He's not. If you're concerned about where our tax dollars are going, then look no further than this guy, because he has millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, of contracts with the US government. Okay, so he's benefiting the most from this relationship. Coristine has launched at least 5 startups across numerous regions from Delaware to the United Kingdom, but didn't list them on his now deleted LinkedIn profile. Okay. What was that kid's name who was the highest donor to the Democratic Party? Sam. Wow, I'm drawing a blank. I'm turning into JP here. I'm drawing a blank. But Altman-Fried, no, Sam something. Anyway, who was found guilty of something and possibly even sentenced to jail. Anybody wanna chime in and give me his name? So this I feel like after reading that he started at least 5 Sam Bankman-Fried, that's his name. Okay, you know all the controversy of Sam Bankman-Fried. I feel like that this is the way that this kid is going. I don't know why, but I just feel like it's going to fall apart in a couple of years. So in 2022, he worked for the Path Network, which is a company known for hiring former hackers. And when he was just 16, he registered a venture named Tesla.sexy LLC, which managed dozens of web domains and went on to work for Musk's Neuralink before joining Doge. Okay, so here's what they're not telling you. They're kind of telling you. Coristine was fired from an intern gig last year for allegedly releasing insider information to a rival company. So you know what Neuralink is, right? I did a video on this where it's basically brain-computer interface, chips in your brain. A lot of people are talking about it. But to be honest with you, I was one of the first ones to actually give it a cheeky little 20-minute video sketchbook and, just kind of, talk about its origins. It comes from Elon Musk and Brian Johnson. Actually, Brian Johnson, whose background is in brain behavioral modification programs or brain modification programs, is the real person behind Neuralink. And he is like spook of all spooks, right? So this kid goes to Neuralink, takes this spook company inside information. That's what Neuralink is, right? And shares insider information to a rival, maybe another rival spook company, right? So this kid is like, all of this is immoral. All of this is unethical. All of this just pushes the boundaries of ethics, right? And he goes even further than that. If I was doing the background investigation on him, I would probably have recommended against hiring him for the work he's doing. I'm not opposed to the idea of cleaning up the government, FBI agent Ed Hilbert told Wired, but I am questioning the people that are doing it. Well, duh, as JP would say. He's been saying that a lot lately. So I wanted to bring that up because it's those individuals, those types of individuals that are basically killing the economy. Now, I'm running into some technical issues here. So hopefully you guys can still see me. I went blank for a minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close some of these screens that I have on in the background and ease up on all the screen shares that I'm doing. But so I wanted to bring that up. I think that, I think we should follow the Coristine story and see if it goes the way of Sam Bankman-Fried. See if we get any sort of, controversial outcomes from that from that story. See if something happens to him. Maybe this kid is given just enough rope to hang himself, kind of thing, kind of like Sam Bankman-Fried was, or what we're told happened. Maybe he's being manipulated by the adults in his life and all the assets that he tends to look up to. I mean, anyway, or even his own father. So I think that there's more to that story than meets the eye. And I definitely don't want people like that getting in the way of, or moving into positions where you're not safe from corruption, from absolute corruption and austerity in our system here, which is already so compromised, right? So The thing that I want to end this broadcast on, it's at the 1 hour mark, so I'll be signing off very soon. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about was health. I'm not a doctor. I'm not recommending anything for anyone. All I can do is tell you my personal situation and my personal story. So let's go all the way back to the beginning of the broadcast where I was talking about feeling feeling like I was in another world when this area that we live, which is typically muggy and balmy and summery, and we just live blocks from the Gulf of Mexico, was covered in snow. So it was at that time that JP got the bomb dropped in his lap that he was losing his full-time job and our main source of income because his department was basically closing down. They got rid of all the men and left 2 women. So this was, devastating to hear, and it happened in the middle of this extremely surreal experience that I was just it's like it wasn't even real. It was like I was living in some sort of upside down sideways world. And so not only was I dealing with where we both were dealing with this devastating news, but then we were really out of sorts because of all the snow. And then I was panicking because I had to go do something to fulfill obligations in order to keep what little income I do have. And I couldn't because everything was closed down because of the snow. So it was one, terrible thing and one just really strange thing on top of another terrible thing. So it was really hard to manage that stress. One more level of stress to all of this was this devastating, once in a lifetime, wildly bizarre snowstorm took place 2 days before we were scheduled to drive an hour and a half to New Orleans. And New Orleans was also under snow. And everything in New Orleans was also shut down. So we had this happened in January. So back in like October or so, we purchased non-refundable tickets to go to an event, and we have had a non-refundable hotel stay. So I was like, well, let's hope that we can, we've driven through the snow before. Our car can handle the snow. I was like, well, we know that we can drive through the snow, but will New Orleans even be open for us? So that was another level of stress and concern and anxiety. So up to that point, I would say for about the year that I'd been traveling back and forth to Pittsburgh every 6 weeks in 2024, in order to continue a treatment for this extraordinary amount of bone loss that was taking place here, which is all fine now. I wasn't really paying attention to my health. So there were certain things that were taking place over 2024 that I didn't share with anyone. And so we go to New Orleans 2-3 days after the snowfall, 2 days after JP got the devastating news about losing his job. And a couple of days after, I was talking to this bureaucrat about how am I supposed to get to these offices and these places you want me to go when they're not even open, and I don't know when they're going to open again because of the weather and the icy roads. So you remember that story, I just told it. So we go to New Orleans. We have an okay time. New Orleans was under a bottled water advisory, so that means you could not do anything with the tap water. We took showers, but we couldn't brush our teeth with tap water. We couldn't drink it. We don't anyway, but so there was this weird bottled water advisory because of the infrastructure was affected because of the freak snowstorm, the once in a lifetime freak snowstorm. Well, the last night we were there, JP got deadly sick, got really, really sick. I was concerned that he wouldn't be able to drive home the next day, but he did. The day we got home, which was the 28th of January, something happened to me I kicked off my boots and I was in my stocking feet and I slipped and I smacked my back on the hardwood floor, actually on the stone floor, and my head bounced off of a metal can. I had a headache for about 2 weeks and I felt a sharp, 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 sharp pain in my chest, and I've been feeling it since. So that happened on January 28th. So I went to the doctor like a week later or so. He ran some tests, and he kept asking me over and over again, have you ever had any pulmonary tests? Have you ever had your heart checked out? And you know how you have like an instinct about something? I've had an instinct all through 2024. And here we are in March of 2025. I've had an instinct about what's going on with my heart for a while. So I have been like in this weird place where like if I get a little bit of good news, I have to force myself not to get excited or my chest hurts. If I walk too fast, my chest hurts. In fact, when our friend was visiting with us, she and I took a walk and I kind of collapsed. Well, I did collapse. And I tried to not make a big deal out of it, but it's because of what's going on with my heart. Now, when you're in Mardi Gras and it's Mardi Gras week, you are drinking and eating, the sweet food and the pastries and all the fat, the fattening food. And we had a guest in town, so we were like, let's go here, let's go there, just showing her the Gulf Coast, having a good time. Well, so she left on Thursday a week ago, and the next night I started to just do some serious deep dives into myself, into research, and I realized that what I've been dealing with, these issues that I've been having, this has to do with inflammation. I already have an autoimmune illness. I'm already dealing with, inflammation pretty much on the regular. So this felt like inflammation around the heart. This also felt like, okay, sure, I could stand to lose a little weight. We all could. I could stand to cut back on, I have a glass of wine for dinner every other night. Maybe I could just pull back on these things, and cut it cold turkey. So I threw away all the pastries, and JP and I we started this on Saturday because it was Friday night, the night after she left, that I decided to do a deep dive into health. And so having her around, I have to pause here for a minute and tell you that she was the inspiration for this. She is like addicted to healthy food, and like the right kind of healthy food. Like she'll eat carrot sticks and chew on aloe, and she has her like a whole regimen that she follows with drinking tea. She doesn't drink coffee. She'll drink the occasional, cocktail or alcohol or glass of wine, but she will not drink coffee. She won't, she doesn't drink probably as much as I do or did. So she was quite the inspiration. So starting Saturday, I said to JP, we're throwing away all the pastries, no more pastries, and I'm cutting out all alcohol. Mardi Gras is over. We're in Lent. It's time to just pull it way back. So, and also on January 1st of this year, so from January 1st until about January 15th, I started an aquafit program, and I went to 8 classes, and I worked because I knew that she was coming. Her friend was coming at the end of February, and I wanted to be in the best health possible. Well, I think I forgot the number one rule when you have an autoimmune illness is you can't just go from 0 to 60. Like you need to slowly integrate back into physical exercises, or else it could be a strain on your heart. I forgot about that. That was the first thing that my parents were told when I was 7 years old and diagnosed. Be careful of her heart. So I went, I was working it harder than anybody else in the class. Somebody even said to me, you don't have to work so hard. There's a nice lady who works the front desk that is always like, go at your own pace. It's okay. You don't have to keep up with, everyone else. So I don't think I should have done that. But I get into these modes where I'm like, I got to do everything, and I want to succeed, and I want to be, I want to cross into, a really super healthy place, and all this stuff. Okay, so I had 2 weeks of that. I haven't been able to go back to Aquafit class since then because of my heart. So Saturday morning, starting Saturday morning, JP and I, twice a day now, starting last Saturday, have taken 2 walks per day, slow, easy walks, getting my heart rate into a pace that is not too much or too low, but a nice, even pace. Thank goodness we have this beautiful, lovely, bucolic neighborhood with lots of trees, and we can walk around a park. I mean, it's really nice. So there's no risk of me falling or anything like that. So we started that Saturday morning, threw away all pastries. I started taking CoQ10, which was recommended by my doctor. He was like, well, can I, your cholesterol is a little high. Can I put you on some statins? And I was like, no. And he's like, well, you can always try CoQ10. You can get it, at the health food store. He was like, if you want. He's like trying to, recommend something without officially recommending it. So I went on CoQ10 or I started taking the CoQ10 supplements and feel really good for that. A friend sent over a package of NOC and MSM, which is helping with the lung issue. So what's happening is when the heart is inflamed, it affects the lungs. I don't know anything about this kind of stuff. What I could cobble together from past conversations with past doctors, what I found from listening to my mother, who is a holistic nutritionist and has gone through a lot of holistic and naturopathic courses, and she runs a department at a small sort of organic grocery store where she's constantly helping people, with their injuries. She has been able to really help people. So she was giving me all sorts of advice, telling me what to do. She can read all of my blood panels and reports and all this. She can read it like a doctor. Like she's pretty good at that. So luckily I had her to give me lots of advice, and also friends, and some of these changes that I made in my own lifestyle. And I lost 7 pounds on top of it. And my heart is okay. Yesterday, some good things happened for JP. 2 recruiters reached out to him. He's having conversations with them today, which is great because we gotta get him out there and get him, in front of people so that they can fall in love with him, and have that chemistry that you need in order to get a job and get an income that will help us survive. So the recruiters reached out to him, and I was very excited about this. And the minute I was like, oh, I'm excited, my heart started to hurt. So I was like, okay, I got to bring it down, not get excited. What was happening, I noticed when my friend was here, I was eating king cake. And if you don't know what king cake is, look it up, but it's what everybody serves during Mardi Gras. And since she was here for Mardi Gras, we had lots of king cake. Every time I ate king cake, I would start coughing because it was my heart that didn't like it, and it was affecting my lungs somehow. So again, threw all the pastries away, stopped drinking the alcohol, and replacing those things with like pomegranate seeds, pomegranate juice, carrots. Thank you for the carrots that you left behind, Zig. Just, really healthy stuff. I said, how about we try a tabbouleh kind of thing where we throw in parsley and pine nuts and feta cheese. And at first I said quinoa, but then JP is like, let's try bulgur, which is cracked wheat. Just pure meat, like off the bone, no nitrates, like no sliced deli meat. We were also eating like Dagwood sandwiches when she was here. We made Dagwood sandwiches, which I call those really big sandwiches that we make at home, and we load them up with sprouts and pickles and mustard and cheese, and you get a nice stack of smoked turkey, and it's good quality. But still, I think it was the nitrates in the smoked turkey that was not good for me. I need like meat off the bone, straight off the bone. Um, so you replace the bad with some good things, and I think that ultimately this has really helped me in 6 days, like I said. And I started the whole process on last Saturday. It hasn't even been a week, and when I decide, I never weigh myself because I'm more about feeling good and not feeling pain and not feeling the inflammation than I am about like, oh, being overweight or whatever. And I also know that a nutritionist told me it's really about inches, not pounds. So your weight is your weight because, we're women and we're hormonal. It's going to go up and down and all over the place. But what you really want to pay attention to is inches. If your clothes are feeling a little tight, then you might want to make some changes, So that's what I focus on. And, but just for kicks, I decided to get on the scale and I was like, oh yeah, look at that. I lost 7 pounds. So based on, the weight that the doctor took back in February when I went to the doctor and they took my weight. So I'm letting you know that that's what's going on with the health situation. I'm not out of the woods yet. We are definitely not out of the woods yet when it comes to needing your support for these programs and these live streams that we're doing. We're really putting ourselves out there. It's now past the 1 hour mark, so I need to go rest. I've been talking for over an hour. I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate all of the help and all of the support and the donations, whether it's through this avenue or just a friend helping out a friend. We really appreciate it. I had set aside enough money to pay for a couple of months of our mortgage. Unfortunately, I forgot about the fact, or I didn't know we filed our taxes. And so unfortunately, 1 month was earmarked towards paying our taxes, our federal taxes, because we owed almost equal what our mortgage is. And so that was eaten up by that. But I think we're going to be okay through to at least through maybe May 1st. JP's got to work on some things on his end and make sure that he's doing everything he can do in order to make sure that we can make that April mortgage. But, I'm just being brutally honest. I'm dealing with a heart condition right now. It's going to take a little bit of time. My mom was like, it's going to take time. These things do not turn around overnight. You want them to. It's patience, slowly changing your lifestyle. Don't get too excited. Don't get too down in the dumps. Don't get too stressed. All this stuff. And I'm like, really? I'm in the worst, situation where, we don't have that main income anymore to support us. Of course it's stressful. Like, what do you think? But, I just have to do what I can do. So, and the one thing I could do was control my lifestyle. And so that's what I did. So I took control of that and I'm very happy with the results. So tune in on Monday for the daily report. I believe it's going to go at 10 from 10 to 11 Central Time. JP will come back with some new piece of news that he will dissect and synthesize for you and break it down. So much of what we hear and see on social media is funneled to keep you from understanding what's really going on. I don't know how else to put it. So let's tune in for that. And if you want to reach out to us, if you are not a fan of donating through PayPal or even signing up to be a patron or becoming a subscriber to Substack, I totally get that. I'm in a way, the donations that we've made over the years to people have been just straight cash. So I get it. If you want our snail mail address, just shoot us an email at info@book-of-hours.com, and we'll give you our home address. And we like food, we like money, we like toys. We'll take anything. So it looks like one of my neighbors is at the door, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off. And I want to thank you again for all of your support and help. You know who you are. And we will be seeing you again on Monday. All right. Have a great weekend. Thank you for tuning in today. Means a lot. Bye-bye.
You can help us continue our work by becoming a patron at patreon.com/bookofhours, or leave us a one-time donation at paypal.me/bookofhours. Or you can use CashApp. Thank you.